Let food be thy medicine and medicine be thy food.
Ah, the classic.
It's the bumper sticker of the wellness world, isn't it? You see it everywhere, on
Yeah.
tote bags, on Instagram usually,
Yeah.
overlaid on a picture of a perfectly backlit avocado.
You sound a little cynical about it.
I am. I have to admit, when I see that quote, a little part of me rolls its eyes.
You roll your eyes at Hippocrates.
I know, but it just feels like a platitude. It feels like someone telling me that if I just eat enough kale, I'll never need a doctor again. It sounds nice in theory.
But in practice.
In practice, you're standing in the supermarket, it's 6 o'clock on a Tuesday, you're tired, you're hungry, and you are not thinking about medicine. You're thinking, what can I put in the microwave for 3 minutes that won't make me sad?
And that is the reality gap, isn't
Right.
it? That's what we're up against.
Mhm.
We tend to view food in these two very separate boxes.
Right.
It's either fuel calories in, energy out, or it's entertainment, a treat.
Right. Utilitarian or hedonistic.
Exactly. But we rarely, if ever, view it as a pharmacological tool. But the reality is, and this is what we're really unpacking today, the chemical interactions that happen when you eat a blackberry or a clove of garlic, they are just as complex and, frankly, just as potent as what happens when you take a pharmaceutical drug.
It's just a different delivery system.
Precisely. A much more delicious one.
And that is exactly what we are digging into. We are doing a deep dive into the healing power of your pantry. And we're working from a really fascinating stack of research, drawing very heavily today from Neal's Yard Remedies Healing Foods.
It's a fantastic resource.
It is. And this isn't just about, eating your veggies because your mom told you to. This is about trying to understand the specific biological mechanisms, the software code, if you will, that food uses to upgrade your body.
We're going to try and move beyond that vague, almost meaningless phrase, healthy eating.
It's been co-opted by marketing so much it means nothing now.
It really has.
Yeah.
So instead, we're going to look at food as a buffer against environmental stress. We live in an increasingly toxic world, and the source material we have today really posits that food is the bedrock. It's the foundation upon which our entire defense system is built.
So we're looking at the hard science, nutritional science, but also the wisdom of, traditional diets that have kept cultures thriving for millennia.
And then we're going to get really granular. We're going to break down what is actually in that fruit bowl on your counter. What is it doing?
So the mission for this deep dive is to drill down. I want to know about phytonutrients, I want to know about enzymes, antioxidants, and I want to know why a blueberry might actually be better for my brain than a Sudoku puzzle.
That is a bold claim.
Mm-hmm.
But, as we'll see, it's not an unfounded one.
Okay, let's unpack this. We have to start with the basics. If we're going to call food medicine, we need to know what the active ingredients are. We all hear about vitamins and minerals, but the text we're looking at talks a lot about phytonutrients. Now, that sounds a bit like a marketing buzzword to me. What is a phytonutrient?
It does sound technical, doesn't it? But it's actually very simple. Phyto just means plant.
Right.
So think of phytonutrients as the plant's own immune system. Plants have a fundamental problem that we animals don't have. They are stuck in one spot.
Yeah.
They're sessile.
They're sitting ducks.
Total sitting ducks. They can't run away from the sun's UV radiation. They can't swat away an insect that's trying to eat them. They can't hide from a fungus or bacterial infection in the soil.
So they have to fight back chemically.
They have to fight back chemically. It's their only option. They produce these bioactive compounds, and we're talking tens of thousands of different ones, that act as their internal pharmacy. Some compounds are like sunscreen, protecting them from UV damage. Others taste bitter to repel insects. Some are antibacterial or antifungal.
And when we eat the plant,
We essentially co-opt that defense system. We are, in a way, stealing their armor and using it for ourselves. We're downloading their survival software.
so the reason a blueberry is blue isn't just to look pretty in a muffin.
Not at all. The color is the chemical weapon. The deep blue or purple pigment, that's a class of phytonutrients called anthocyanins, and they are powerful antioxidants. The color is a signal of the medicine inside.
Which leads us directly to this idea in the text of the rainbow. It breaks down the benefits by color, which I found to be a brilliant way to visualize the chemistry. It's a cheat sheet for your grocery shopping.
It really is. It turns your shopping cart into a painter's palette.
Okay, let's walk through the spectrum then. Let's start with red. I'm thinking tomatoes, watermelon, pink grapefruit, red peppers. What is the red group doing for me?
The heavy hitter in the red group is a compound called lycopene.
I've seen that on ketchup bottles.
You have. It's a type of carotenoid, but it has a very specific affinity for certain tissues in the human body. The research is incredibly strong on its protective effects for the prostate in men.
How does it do that?
It seems to help regulate cell growth and reduce inflammation in the prostate tissue. But it's also vital for the heart. It acts as a powerful scavenger for free radicals in the cardiovascular system.
A scavenger. I like that image.
It literally hunts down oxidative stress. And here's the really interesting thing about lycopene, something that goes against the whole raw is always better mantra.
Oh,
It actually becomes more bioavailable when you cook it.
you're kidding.
Not at all. A raw tomato is good for you, of course. But a cooked tomato sauce or a tomato paste is actually more potent medicine. The heat breaks down the plant's tough cell walls and releases the lycopene, making it easier for your body to absorb.
That is the best news I've had all week. My love for pizza and pasta is now medically justified.
Within reason. Okay, moving on. Orange and yellow. So we've got carrots, apricots, sweet potatoes, mangoes, pumpkins. Here we're talking primarily about the carotenes, especially beta-carotene.
The one that's meant to help you see in the dark.
Well, that's the old story, and there's truth to it. The body is very clever. It takes beta-carotene and converts it into vitamin A. And vitamin A is crucial for vision, but it's also crucial for what I'd call our surface tissues.
Surface tissues, like skin.
Skin, yes, but also all the mucous membranes, the lining of your lungs, your sinuses, your gut. Vitamin A keeps those surfaces healthy and intact. They are your first line of defense against pathogens.
So if I'm someone who gets a lot of colds or has skin issues, I should be looking at the orange and yellow foods.
Precisely. It's also strongly linked to cancer prevention because it helps protect those delicate cell linings from mutating when they're exposed to toxins.
Yeah.
And what's great is your body only converts what it needs, so you can't overdose on vitamin A from beta-carotene.
That's a clever system. Okay, next up, green. The one we all know we should eat more of. Kale, spinach, avocado, broccoli, kiwi. My mom always said greens cleanse the blood. Was she onto something?
Your mom was scientifically accurate.
Really?
Absolutely. The green pigment in plants is, of course, chlorophyll. Now, if you look at the molecular structure of chlorophyll and you compare it to the molecular structure of human hemoglobin, the part of your red blood cells that carries oxygen, they're almost identical.
No way.
It's incredible. Yeah. They're a mirror image of each other. The only significant difference is the center atom. In chlorophyll, it's a magnesium atom. In our hemoglobin, it's an iron atom.
That's wild. So eating green is, in a very real sense, building your blood.
It is. It helps build red blood cells. It supports the liver in its detoxification pathways, and it improves circulation. It is both the builder and the cleaner of the system. Green foods also have lutein, which is vital for eye health, specifically protecting the macula.
Builder and cleaner. I like that. All right, moving to my favorite category, blue and purple, blueberries, grapes, eggplant, plums, beetroot.
This is what I would call the longevity sector of the produce aisle.
The anti-aging section.
You could say that. The compounds here, like resveratrol and the anthocyanins we mentioned earlier, are extremely powerful antioxidants. And they seem to have a special talent for crossing the blood-brain barrier.
Ah, so they can get into the command center.
Exactly. They fight the inflammation and oxidative stress that leads to cognitive decline and age-related memory loss. So if red is for the heart, you could say blue is for the head.
I'm going to remember that. Finally, let's talk about white, which I usually associate with bad stuff like refined flour and sugar. But we're not talking about that here, are we?
No, we are talking about garlic, onions, cauliflower, mushrooms, leeks. The white group in nature is the immune booster.
Ah, so this is what you reach for in winter.
This is your flu season arsenal. It's rich in compounds like allyl sulfides. These are things that give garlic and onions their pungent smell and make you cry.
They certainly do.
But those sulfides are potently antibacterial, antiviral, and antifungal. So if you feel a cold coming on, you don't reach for an orange, you reach for the white group. They also have a proven ability to help lower cholesterol and blood pressure.
So when people say eat the rainbow, it's not just to make the plate look pretty on Instagram. It is literally a strategy to get a full spectrum of chemical protection.
It's the most basic and yet most profound piece of nutritional advice there is.
But here's where it gets really interesting for me, and the source material really emphasizes this, the concept of synergy. It says you can't just extract these things, put them in a pill, and expect the same result.
No. And this is the fundamental mistake of what we call nutritional reductionism. We in the West love to break things down to their smallest component. We discover vitamin C is good for you, so we isolate it, synthesize it, and stick it in a tablet.
Which seems efficient.
It seems efficient, but it's not effective. Because in an orange, Vitamin C isn't flying solo, it's hanging out with a whole entourage of other compounds. Bioflavonoids, fiber, specific enzymes, minerals.
They're a team.
They're a highly coordinated team. They potentiate each other. The bioflavonoids, for example, actually help the body absorb and utilize the vitamin C more effectively. They protect it from oxidizing too quickly. If you just take the isolated ascorbic acid in a pill, you lose that entire team effect.
And the book describes processed food as denuded. I love that word. Stripped bare.
It's perfect. It's stripped of its intrinsic nutrients, its life force. And then sometimes manufacturers will try to fortify it by adding a handful of synthetic vitamins back in. But it's like firing a championship basketball team and then trying to win a game by just putting a cardboard cutout of the star player back on the court. You've lost the magic. You've lost the synergy.
You've lost the relationships between the chemicals, and a big part of that team effort is fighting these things called free radicals. Now, this is a term we hear constantly in marketing. High in antioxidants, fights free radicals. But if I'm being honest, if I stop 10 people on the street, I don't think a single one could tell me what a free radical actually is. Is it a rogue molecule starting a revolution?
In a way, yes. That's not a bad analogy. Think of a free radical as a vandal, or maybe a mugger. On a molecular level, it's an atom or a molecule that is missing an electron in its outer shell.
Okay, so it's unstable.
It's incredibly unstable. It's unbalanced. Because it's unbalanced, it's frantic. It careens around your body, trying to steal an electron from a healthy, stable molecule to make itself whole again.
So it is mugging my healthy cells.
It absolutely is. It'll rip an electron from a cell wall or a strand of your DNA or a vital protein, and when it steals that electron, it damages that cell. It destabilizes it. This cascade of damage is called oxidative stress.
Oxidative stress. It sounds like rusting.
It's a perfect analogy. It is, quite literally rusting from the inside out. And this cumulative damage is what underlies the aging process. And most chronic diseases, heart disease, cancer, arthritis, you name it.
And where do these vandals, these muggers, where do they come from?
Well, some are just a natural byproduct of being alive. Your own body produces them just by breathing and metabolizing food. But we're also bombarded with them from external sources. Pollution, cigarette smoke, industrial chemicals, fried foods, and UV radiation from the sun.
So we are under constant attack.
A constant low-level siege, which are the antioxidants come in.
You're the hero. The security guard.
The security guard, I love it. An antioxidant is a molecule that is generous, it's stable, but it has an extra electron that it can afford to give away without becoming unstable itself.
A philanthropist molecule.
Exactly. So when it encounters a frantic, destructive free radical, it calmly hands over one of its own electrons and says, here, take this. Calm down. You're whole now. It neutralizes the threat before the vandal can break a window or mug a healthy cell.
That is such a clear analogy. So we eat the plants to get the security guards to stop the cellular vandals.
That is the entire game. And the more toxic our modern environment becomes, the more pollutants in the air, the more stress we're under, the more security guards we need to hire.
Which transitions us perfectly, and perhaps a little ominously, to our next section. If this mechanism is so clear, if the solution is in the produce aisle, why are we, as a society, so sick? The source material dives deep into this diet war, as you called it, between the modern Western diet and traditional wisdom. And it paints a pretty grim picture of how we eat today.
It does, and for good reason. The modern Western diet is characterized by what it lacks just as much as by what it contains. It's notoriously high in red meat, sugar, salt, processed fats. But the critical issue that the text really highlights is refined grains.
Right. The white bread, the pasta, the crackers, the pastries, the beige-colored foods.
The beige diet. The text points out that something like 45% of the calories in the typical Western diet come from carbohydrates, but they are overwhelmingly the refined kind. This means the bran and the germ, the parts where all the fiber, vitamins, and minerals are, have been stripped away.
To improve shelf life and texture.
Exactly. But there's a deeper, more insidious issue here, one that I found completely fascinating. The text calls it the grain problem.
I want to stop you here because this section of the research, it actually made me angry. Genuinely angry. We have been told for 30, 40, maybe 50 years that whole grains are the holy grail of health. The food pyramid I grew up with was basically a giant triangle made of bread.
This was the foundation.
The foundation. But this text is throwing a massive red flag on grains, even whole grains. It talks about something called anti-nutrients, which sounds like something from a sci-fi movie that just deletes your health.
It's a concept that really turns conventional wisdom on its head. And to understand it, you have to think like a seed. A grain of wheat, or barley, or rye, is a baby plant. It's a state of suspended animation, wearing a little survival suit.
Okay.
Its only biological goal is to survive. Survive being in storage, survive being eaten by a bird, survive until it finds good soil and water. It does not want to be digested by you. That's a failure from the seed's perspective.
So it has a defense mechanism?
It has multiple defense mechanisms. It locks up its vital nutrients, its phosphorus, its energy stores, behind a chemical wall to keep them safe until germination. And the main brick in that wall is a compound called phytic acid, or phytates.
Phytates. And where do you find them?
You find them in the bran or the outer hull of all seeds and grains, which is, of course, the very part we're told to eat for the fiber in whole grains.
The irony. Okay, so I eat my healthy whole grain toast thinking I'm doing the right thing. I'm eating the bran, so I'm eating these phytates. What happens when they get into my stomach?
This is the anti-nutrient part. Phytic acid has a very strong negative charge, which gives it a powerful magnetic attraction to positively charged minerals. When it gets into your gut, it binds, or chelates, to crucial minerals like calcium, magnesium, iron, and zinc.
What do you mean it binds to them?
It grabs onto them and forms an insoluble bond. It holds on tight. Your body's digestive enzymes cannot break that bond. So you might need a bowl of cereal that's fortified with iron, but the phytates in the grain's bran act like a bouncer at a nightclub, grabbing that iron and escorting it right out of your body undigested.
That's infuriating.
Yeah.
So I'm eating the minerals, but I'm not getting the minerals.
You are not absorbing them, correct. The text specifically notes that a diet high in improperly prepared grains can, over time, actually lead to serious mineral deficiencies and even bone loss, because your body starts pulling calcium from your bones and teeth to make up for the shortfall in your diet.
You keep saying improperly prepared because obviously humans have been eating bread for thousands of years. We aren't all just crumbling into dust.
We aren't. But we have to look at how our ancestors ate bread compared to how we eat it.
Yeah.
They didn't have industrial yeast and high-speed mixers. What did they do?
They fermented it. They made sourdough.
Sourdough. Exactly. And that wasn't just for flavor or to make it rise. Sourdough is a long, slow fermentation process. It can take hours, sometimes days. When you let that dough sit and sour, the wild yeasts and lactobacilli bacteria in the starter begin to break down or neutralize the phytic acid.
So they do the digestive work for us before it even gets to the oven.
They pre-digest the grain, they unlock the minerals, they make the nutrients bioavailable. It's a form of ancient biotechnology.
And modern industrial bread.
Modern bread is a completely different animal. Yeah. It's often made in minutes using the Chorleywood process with huge amounts of yeast and chemical conditioners. It completely skips that vital fermentation step. So we get the calories, we get the gluten, but we also get the full, unadulterated dose of anti-nutrients.
So we've traded nutrition for convenience.
On a massive scale.
This leads us to the success stories. The source contrasts the Western failure with a look at some traditional diets, and the diversity here is just wild.
Let's start with the Inuit diet. This one always blows my mind. It's the ultimate paradox, isn't it? If you look at it through the lens of modern nutritional guidelines, it should be a recipe for disaster.
Right. Traditionally, the Inuit had almost no access to vegetables or fruits. It was an extremely high-meat, high-fat diet. Seals, whales, fish. By our standards, they should have been riddled with scurvy and heart disease. But they weren't.
They were remarkably healthy. It comes down to adaptation and incredible ingenuity. They got their vitamin A and D, which are fat-soluble, from the oils and livers of cold water fish and marine mammals. That's straightforward.
But the vitamin C, that's the real mystery. There are no oranges in the Arctic.
No, but there is vitamin C in other places. We just don't think of them. Raw organ meats, for example, are actually quite high in vitamin C. Things like caribou liver or the skin and blubber of a whale known as muktuk.
Raw. That's the key.
That is the absolute key. Vitamin C is extremely fragile. It's destroyed by heat. By eating these parts of the animal raw or frozen, they preserved the vitamin content perfectly. They understood their food chemistry on a level that was essential for survival.
That is absolutely hardcore. Talk about food as medicine. Then you can flip to the complete opposite end of the spectrum and look at the traditional Japanese diet, which is arguably one of the healthiest in the world.
A completely different philosophy, but with the same successful outcome. Small portions, very nutrient-dense foods, a heavy reliance on seafood for those omega-3s, lots of sea vegetables for minerals, and, crucially, fermented foods.
Miso, tempeh, natto.
Exactly. We just discussed how fermentation unlocks the nutrients in bread by neutralizing phytates. Well, the Japanese diet applied this same principle to soy and vegetables. They mastered the art of bioavailability through fermentation.
And then there's the Mediterranean diet, which is the one that gets all the good press for heart health.
It's the poster child, yes. And for good reason. Fresh plants, lots of olive oil, fish, legumes, and a little red wine. The studies on this are just overwhelming. It significantly reduces death from heart disease and cancer. It's incredibly rich in those security guard antioxidants we talked about earlier.
And finally, the source touches on the Paleolithic or hunter-gatherer diet. This is the whole caveman approach.
The premise here is evolutionary biology. The argument is that our genetics haven't had time to catch up to the agricultural revolution, let alone the industrial revolution.
So our bodies are still running on Stone Age software.
That's the idea, that our bodies are still expecting a diet of wild plants, fruits, nuts, and the occasional wild animal, but we are feeding them farmed grains, dairy, and refined sugar, which are very new foods in our evolutionary timeline.
So it's about removing those agricultural products.
Primarily, yes. No grains, no dairy, no legumes, no refined sugar.
It seems like these diets are all over the map. High fat, low fat, high carb, no carb. But the text makes a point to say there's a common thread running through all of them.
There is. And it's not about the specific macronutrient ratios. Despite all their differences, all successful traditional diets share a few key principles. First, they are seasonal and local. They eat what the environment provides when it provides it.
No strawberries in December.
No strawberries in December. Second, they avoid industrial chemicals and processing. Their food is whole. And third, they have a healthy balance of fatty acids, particularly a good ratio of omega-3 to omega-6. They eat what nature provides in the form nature provided it.
Which brings us neatly to the quality of the food itself. You mentioned avoiding industrial chemicals. We have to talk about the organic debate. I feel like this is a constant battle for people in the grocery store. Sometimes organic just feels like a label they use to charge me $2 more for an apple. Is it really worth it?
It's a very valid skepticism, and the cost is a real factor for many people. But the source material cites a really compelling study from the Journal of Applied Nutrition way back in 1993. It suggests it's not just about what isn't on the food like pesticides, but what is in it.
You mean the actual nutrient content?
The nutrient density, yes. This study did a direct comparison of organic versus conventional produce bought from stores in the Chicago area. And the mineral gap they found was staggering.
I have the numbers right here, and they are genuinely blowing my mind. Magnesium. Organic produce had 118% more.
More than double.
Iron was 73% higher. Calcium, 63% higher. I mean, these are not small numbers.
They're not. Think about what that means in practice. You would have to eat almost 2 conventionally grown apples to get the magnesium of one single organic apple.
And why is that? What's the mechanism?
It comes down to the soil. Intensive chemical-based agriculture treats soil like a dead medium to just prop up plants. It depletes the soil's natural mineral content over time. Organic farming, on the other hand, is all about soil health, composting, crop rotation. It focuses on building a rich, living soil. And if the minerals aren't in the soil, they simply cannot be in the fruit.
So you're getting shortchanged on the nutrients with the conventional stuff.
Yeah.
But then there's the other side of the coin, the scarier side, what the text calls the cocktail effect.
This is what keeps toxicologists up at night. Our regulatory bodies, they set safety limits for individual pesticides. They'll say, this tiny amount of chemical A is considered safe for human consumption.
Okay.
But they rarely, if ever, test what happens when you combine that safe level of chemical A with the safe level of chemical B and the safe level of fungicide C, all in the same salad leaf that you're about to eat.
It's a chemical soup.
It is a chemical cocktail. And we just don't know the long-term effects of these synergistic toxicities. 2 chemicals that are relatively harmless on their own might become much more dangerous when they're combined in the body. Buying organic is, right now, the only real way to opt out of being a subject in that uncontrolled experiment.
That is a very unsettling thought. Okay, so buying organic helps avoid the cocktail and boosts the minerals. The other pillar you mentioned was seasonal eating. We touched on this, but how does it apply to us in our modern world?
It's a concept that's central to ancient systems like traditional Chinese medicine and Ayurveda. The idea is to align your body's internal environment with the external environment.
So what does that look like?
In winter, your body wants to be warm and conserve energy. So you eat warming foods, things that take longer to digest and create internal heat. Root vegetables, whole grains like oats, spices like cinnamon and ginger. In summer, your body wants to be cool, so you eat cooling foods, things with high water content. Cucumber, melons, salads, leafy greens.
But let's be real, I live in a city. I can get anything, anytime. I can get asparagus from Peru in the middle of January.
You can, but should you? That asparagus has likely been flown halfway around the world, picked long before it was ripe, and has been losing nutrients every single mile of the journey. The source suggests a very practical guideline here, the 80-20 rule.
I like the sound of that.
Try to make 80% of your diet local, seasonal, and unprocessed. Let the other 20% be for the exotic, out-of-season treats, the fun stuff. It's a much more achievable and less stressful way to live.
That makes a lot of sense. Before we leave this section on quality, we do have to mention GMOs. The source material is pretty skeptical here.
It is. The primary concern it raises is the lack of independent, long-term safety testing on genetically modified foods before they enter the food supply. It specifically cites a controversial 2012 French study where rats were fed a lifelong diet of a particular type of genetically modified maize.
And what happened?
The rats developed tumors and suffered from kidney and liver dysfunction at a much higher rate than the control group. Now, that study has been criticized for its methodology, but the larger point the text makes is about the precautionary principle.
Meaning, if we don't know for sure, maybe we should be careful.
Exactly. If we don't have definitive proof of long-term safety, maybe we shouldn't be making these foods a staple of our diet.
Okay, let's get to the fun part, the fruit bowl. I want to go through some specific fruits and really understand what superpowers they're hiding, but let's frame it as tools for jobs. If I have a specific problem, what's the tool in the fruit bowl I should reach for?
I like that framing. A culinary toolkit.
Exactly. Let's start with a big one. Metabolic health. We have an epidemic of blood sugar issues, metabolic syndrome, obesity. What in the fruit bowl is actually fighting that war on the front lines?
For metabolism, you have to look at the stone fruits, specifically peaches and nectarines.
Which is counterintuitive to me. They're so sweet and juicy. Usually we're told to avoid sweet fruit if we have blood sugar issues.
And that's the whole food paradox we keep coming back to. Yes, they contain sugar, but it's packaged with fiber, water, and in the case of peaches, these specific phenolic compounds.
And what do they do?
Research has shown that these compounds have anti-obesity and anti-inflammatory properties. They actually help modulate how your fat cells behave and how your body handles inflammation, which are two key drivers of metabolic syndrome. They're also gentle diuretics, helping the body flush out excess water and salt.
So the whole food is greater than the sum of its sugary parts.
For greater.
Okay, so that's our metabolic tool. What about, let's call it the plumber? Digestion, constipation, irregularity. We all know about prunes. That's the old cliche. But is there more to it than just a load of fiber?
Oh, much more. The prune, which is just a dried plum, is a masterclass in synergistic chemistry. Yes, it has a lot of fiber, both soluble and insoluble, which adds bulk. That's mechanism number one.
Right.
But it also contains a high amount of sorbitol. Sorbitol is a sugar alcohol that is not easily digested, so it passes into the large intestine where it draws water in, kind of like a sponge. That softens everything and makes it easier to pass. That's mechanism number two.
Bulk and water, okay.
And then the secret ingredient is a compound called izatin.
Izatin, never heard of it.
It's a natural laxative stimulant. It actually encourages the smooth muscles of the colon to contract. So you have three different mechanisms working in perfect synergy. The fiber for bulk, the sorbitol for water and slide, and the izatin for stimulation. It's a complex, multi-pronged drug wrapped in a wrinkly purple skin.
I will never look at a prune the same way again. Okay, next job. Structural support. Bones. I usually think dairy for bones, for calcium. I don't think fruit.
You should be thinking about the fig.
The fig, really?
The fig is the calcium guardian. But not because it contains a huge amount of calcium itself, though it does have some. Its real power is in protecting the calcium you already have.
How does it do that?
The mechanism is all about potassium.
Yeah.
The modern diet is incredibly high in salt, in sodium. High sodium intake causes us to excrete calcium in our urine. We literally pee away our bone density.
I had no idea.
Figs are one of the richest sources of potassium in the fruit world, and potassium counterbalances sodium. It basically tells the kidneys to hold on to calcium.
Right.
So eating figs is like plugging the hole in your calcium bucket. It keeps the minerals where they belong in your bones.
Plugging the hole in the bucket. That's a great visual. Okay, let's talk about the most common fruit of all, the apple. It's so ubiquitous we almost ignore its power. An apple a day and all that.
The ancient fruit. And the old saying is true for a reason, but the first rule of eating an apple, do not peel it.
But the wax, the source material warns about the wax on supermarket apples.
It does, and you should absolutely wash them thoroughly, scrub them if you can, to remove that food-grade wax. But you must keep the skin. That's where so many of the nutrients are concentrated. For example, that's where you find a flavonoid called fluorizin.
Fluorizin.
Yes. It's particularly interesting for women's health, as studies have linked it to preventing the type of bone loss associated with menopause by improving bone density.
Wow.
But the real star in the apple is pectin.
Right, I know pectin. It's what makes jam and jelly set.
It's exactly that. It's a type of soluble fiber. And in the body, it has this amazing quality that the text describes as an amphoteric action.
Meaning?
Meaning it works both ways. It adapts to what your body needs. If you're constipated, the pectin absorbs water, swells up, and adds bulk and moisture to move things along. But if you have diarrhea, that same pectin absorbs the excess fluid in the intestines, forming a gel that slows everything down.
That is a remarkably smart fiber. Okay, what about pears? I feel like the pear is the forgotten, slightly softer cousin of the apple.
The pear is the safest bet in the fruit bowl. It's known as a hypoallergenic food.
What makes it hypoallergenic?
It's very low in natural compounds called benzoates and salicylates, which are often the things that trigger allergic reactions or sensitivities in people. So if someone is recovering from an illness or has a very sensitive digestive system, or for a baby's first fruit, pears are the absolute go-to. The text also notes they're considered a cooling food, good for what it calls nervous exhaustion.
Nervous exhaustion. I think I need a prescription for 3 pears a day immediately. And finally, for this section of the fruit bowl, apricots. The source mentions a bit of a controversy here regarding the kernel, right?
It does. The apricot kernel, the small seed inside the hard stone, contains a compound called amygdalin, which breaks down into something called vitamin B17 or laetrile.
And that's been studied for cancer.
It has, yes, though it's highly controversial in mainstream medicine and can be toxic in high doses because it also releases cyanide, so that's a very complex area. But looking at the fruit itself, the Japanese have a secret weapon made from apricots. Umeboshi.
The little pickled plums. I've had one once. It's an intense experience.
It definitely wakes you up. They're actually a type of apricot, not a plum, that's been pickled with salt and shiso leaves. They're intensely salty and sour. And they're used traditionally in Japan as a powerful remedy for hangovers, nausea, and indigestion. The shock of the salt and sour is thought to stimulate the liver and digestive juices so powerfully it just resets the whole system.
A system reboot in a tiny pickled fruit. Okay, moving from the bowl to the berry patch. The text calls these specialized tools, which I love. Let's start with blackberries.
If you have a headache or maybe a mild fever, blackberries might be your food because they contain a significant amount of salicylic acid.
Wait a minute. Salicylic acid, isn't that?
It's the active ingredient in aspirin.
No way.
Aspirin is acetylsalicylic acid. It's a synthetic version. Blackberries, and also raspberries, contain the natural form, so they have a mild, pain-relieving, anti-inflammatory, and blood-thinning effect. They can help lower blood pressure and protect the heart, similar to a low-dose aspirin regimen, but, delicious.
That's incredible. And the text suggests making a blackberry vinegar for sore throats. That sounds like one of those old grandmother remedies that you just know actually works.
Because it does. The natural acidity of the vinegar acts as an astringent, and when you combine that with the anti-inflammatory salicylic acid from the berries, you get a potent soothing and antiseptic gargle for a sore throat.
I'm definitely trying that this winter. What about blueberries? They get a ton of press. The superfood of superfoods?
And rightly so. They are the brainberry. The research on blueberries and cognitive function is really strong. They seem to increase the production of dopamine in the brain.
The feel-good chemical.
Well, it's more than that. Dopamine is a crucial neurotransmitter that's responsible for focus, memory, motor coordination, and motivation. So eating blueberries can literally improve your cognitive function and coordination.
But the text has a warning here.
A very important one. Blueberries are consistently on the Environmental Working Group's Dirty Dozen list. They have a thin skin, a large surface area, and we eat the whole thing, so they tend to hold on to pesticide residues. If you could only afford to buy 1 or 2 things organic, make blueberries one of them.
That is a very good tip. Now, cranberries. We all know the story about urinary tract infections, UTIs. But the text dropped an absolute bombshell on me here. Teeth.
Yes. It's so counterintuitive. We usually associate sticky, sweet red juice with causing cavities. But cranberries contain a unique type of proanthocyanidin, or PAC.
And what does that do?
These PACs have an amazing anti-adhesion property. They basically make surfaces slippery to bacteria, so they act like Teflon for your teeth. They prevent the bacteria that causes plaque from sticking to your tooth enamel in the first place.
So cranberry sauce could actually lead to a brighter smile.
Well, maybe not the sugary canned sauce, but the properties of the berry itself, yes. And that non-stick property also applies to your stomach. The same mechanism prevents the H. pylori bacteria, the bug that's a primary cause of stomach ulcers, from being able to attach to the stomach walls.
That's amazing. A multi-talented berry. What about raspberries?
Two very interesting things about raspberries. First, they contain a ketone called rhosmin. Some studies suggest it can help suppress fat absorption in the digestive tract and rev up your metabolism.
A metabolism booster.
Potentially, yes. And second, from a traditional herbal perspective, raspberry leaf tea is a classic women's tonic. It has properties that tone the muscles of the uterus. But the source is very specific here. It should only be used in the last 2 months of pregnancy to help prepare the body for labor, not before.
Okay, good to know. Blackcurrants. I feel like Americans really miss out on these. They're so huge in the UK and Europe.
They are, and we should definitely eat more of them. They are night vision boosters.
You're serious? Like for real?
For real. The specific antioxidants in blackcurrants have been proven in studies, particularly with pilots, to improve visual acuity in the dark and help the eyes adapt more quickly to changes in light. Plus, wait for weight, they have 3 times the vitamin C of oranges. They are immunity giants.
And lastly, for the berry patch, elderberries.
The flu fighter. Elderberry syrup is a staple in natural medicine cabinets for a reason. There's good clinical evidence that it can shorten the duration and severity of the flu by boosting the immune response. But, and this is a big but, never eat them raw.
Why not?
Raw elderberries are quite sour, but they also contain compounds called cyanogenic glycosides that can cause nausea and stomach upset. They must be cooked to neutralize these compounds and make them safe and palatable.
Got it. Cook your elderberries. Now let's head into the exotic and specific section. These are the ones that really surprise me. Cherries, for example. I just think of them as a dessert topper, but you're telling me they're a sleep aid?
They can be, yes.
Huh.
Sour cherries, specifically the Montmorency variety, are one of the very few natural food sources of the hormone melatonin.
The sleep hormone that your brain makes.
Exactly. So if you're struggling with jet lag or shift work or just general insomnia, a glass of pure sour cherry juice in the evening can help reset your body's natural circadian clock. But they're also a miracle for gout.
Gout is that incredibly painful form of arthritis, right? Crystals forming in the joints?
It's agonizing, and it's caused by a buildup of uric acid in the blood. Cherries have a powerful effect on lowering uric acid levels.
Yep.
Some studies cited in the material suggest that sour cherries are up to 10 times more active than aspirin for relieving the pain and inflammation of a gout attack.
10 times more active than aspirin. That is powerful medicine. What about grapes? I have a confession. I usually spit the seeds out.
Stop doing that. Please stop doing that. The seeds are where the gold is. They contain highly concentrated OPCs, oligomeric proanthocyanidin complexes.
That's a mouthful.
It is, but they are among the most potent antioxidants ever discovered. And of course, the skin of red and purple grapes contains that famous compound, resveratrol, which protects the heart and has been linked to longevity.
And raisins, they're just dried grapes, right?
Yes, but the drying process concentrates the fiber. Raisins are a fantastic prebiotic. That means they contain the specific types of fiber that feed the good bacteria, the probiotics that live in your gut. So a handful of raisins is like putting fertilizer on your internal garden.
I like that. Let's talk kiwi. I love a kiwi, but they are messy to eat.
They are. But here's a fun and practical science lesson about kiwis. They contain a unique enzyme called actinidin. And actinidin's job is to digest protein.
So what does that mean for me when I eat it?
It means it can be a great digestive aid if you've had a heavy meal with a lot of meat or fish.
Yeah.
But more practically, it means you can never, ever put fresh kiwi in a gelatin-based or dairy-based dessert that needs to set.
Oh, why not?
Because the enzyme will go to work digesting the proteins. It will break down the collagen in the gelatin so it never sets. And it will curdle the milk proteins in a yogurt parfait or a trifle. It will turn your beautiful dessert into a bitter, watery mess.
That explains a few failed dinner parties from my youth. Good to know. What about a quince? I don't think I've ever even bought a quince.
They're not very common anymore, which is a shame. They look like lumpy yellow pears. You can't eat them raw. They're rock hard and very astringent. But when you cook them, they turn pink and fragrant. Because they are so astringent, they're a traditional remedy in the Middle East for stomach upsets and diarrhea. And the text notes that the juice can be used as a mouthwash for ulcers and gum health because it's so tightening and antiseptic.
And finally for this group, mulberries.
A very traditional fruit, especially in Chinese medicine. A tea made from fresh mulberries is considered a gentle sedative, very helpful for insomnia. And they contain a compound called zeaxanthin, which is specifically beneficial for eye health, particularly for what the text calls dry conditions. So dry eyes, but also dry skin conditions like eczema.
It's just incredible. We look at a produce section and just see colors and shapes and prices, but it's actually a pharmacy, a living pharmacy.
That's exactly what it is.
However, the source material does, very realistically, have a section on when food isn't enough. It talks about supplements.
Which is a very important and realistic admission. While food is always the best and primary source of nutrients, our modern lifestyles, and sometimes our dietary choices, can leave gaps.
So who specifically should be looking at the supplement aisle as more than just an option, but maybe a necessity?
The text highlights a few key groups. Vegetarians and vegans, for obvious reasons, need to be vigilant about vitamin B12, which is only found in animal products. And they often need to supplement with iron and zinc, as the forms found in plants are less bioavailable.
Okay, that makes sense. Who else?
Smokers. The act of smoking burns through vitamin C and zinc at an incredible rate. The body uses them up trying to deal with the toxic load.
The elderly.
Yes. As we age, our production of stomach acid decreases, which means our ability to absorb certain nutrients, especially vitamin B12 and minerals like calcium, slows down significantly. Vitamin D is also crucial for the elderly. And then there are students.
The student lifestyle, which I assume is code for pizza, instant noodles, and beer.
You've got it. It's about a lack of dietary diversity. A good multivitamin for a student really just acts as a basic insurance policy against nutritional gaps.
The text also mentions something it calls the RDA trap. I think this is a really important concept for people to hear.
This is critical. RDA stands for Recommended Daily Allowance. We see it on the side of every cereal box. But we have to remember what those numbers represent. They are often set as the bare minimum amount of a nutrient needed to avoid an acute deficiency disease.
So like the amount of vitamin C you need to not get scurvy.
Exactly. The RDA is the level to prevent scurvy. It is not necessarily the optimal amount of vitamin C you need for a robust immune system, healthy skin, and vibrant energy.
So it's the difference between merely surviving and actually thriving.
That is the perfect way to put it. The RDA keeps you from getting an old-timey sailor's disease. Optimal nutrition keeps you feeling fantastic.
Right.
There's a huge, huge gap between not sick and truly healthy.
Okay, we have covered a massive amount of ground. From the chemical color code of phytonutrients to the anti-nutrient bouncer in your bread to the aspirin in your blackberries. So what does this all mean? How do we synthesize this into a philosophy we can actually use?
I think it means shifting our perspective entirely.
Mm-hmm.
Food as medicine isn't about restriction. It's not a diet. It's not about saying, I can't eat that. It's about addition. It's about empowerment.
Right.
It's about looking at your body and your life and saying, you know what, I'm having trouble sleeping. I'm going to add some sour cherries to my routine, or my joints are feeling a bit stiff. I'm going to make sure I eat some blackberries. Or I'm worried about my eyesight from staring at this screen all day. I'm going to find some blackcurrants. It's about using food as a targeted toolkit.
It puts you back in the driver's seat. You aren't just a passive recipient of whatever is on the menu.
Yeah.
You're actively managing your own biology with every meal.
Precisely. And my challenge to you, to the listener, would be this. Don't try to change everything overnight. That's a recipe for failure. Just pick one thing. Pick one new fruit we mentioned today. Maybe hunt down a quince at a farmer's market, or find some of those umeboshi plums at an Asian grocery, or just stop peeling your organic apples.
Or soak your oats overnight.
Yes, a tiny change. Soak your oats overnight to break down those phytates. Small, intelligent chemical changes add up to profound biological shifts over time.
And here's a final thought to leave you with, something that really stuck with me from that quality control section. We talked about the mineral depletion in our soil. We talked about the unknown cocktail effect of pesticides. So the question is, when you bite into a shiny red apple today, are you eating the same apple that your grandmother ate 50 years ago?
In appearance, yes. In name, yes. But in chemistry, in its nutritional power, almost certainly not. And that's a provocative question that suggests our responsibility for our health goes beyond our own kitchen and extends to how we care for the earth that grows our food in the first place.
Heavy stuff, but so important. Health really does start in the kitchen. Thanks for taking this deep dive with us. Go eat something colorful.
And ideally something organic and seasonal.
Of course. We'll catch you next time.